everyone! Morgie right here today. Today I want to talk about when I ran the module Lost Mine of Phandelver for my group, which is a group that I usually play with, but our DM sometimes takes breaks for, her own mental health and, to get her creative juices going again. And when that happens, one of the players usually runs a shorter campaign or a couple of one-shots or something like that, just to give her a little bit of time. So one of those times, I ran Lost Mine of Phandelver. And so I'm going to talk about my experience with it a little bit today. Just keep in mind, this will have some spoilers for Lost Mine of Phandelver. So if you ever want to run it yourself and don't want to be spoiled or think that you might play it as a player, maybe just keep that in mind that there will be spoilers here. But do keep in mind, I did change quite a bit of it. So Lost Mine of Phandelver was released in 2014, actually before the core 3 rulebooks were released for the new edition. This was back when 5th edition was released. It included a 32-page rulebook for playing characters level 1 to level 5, and a 64-page adventure module, which was Lost Mine of Phandelver. So this was the starter set. This was the first thing they released for 5th edition. It takes place around the village of Phandelver. Come upon some hard times. And the plot of it is that you are basically hired by a dwarf named Gundren to find a cavern/mine, the Lost Mine, that was a very popular mine back in the day called Wave Echo Cave, where a very powerful artifact called the Forge of Spells was created that could make magic items. So that's the background of the adventure, and that's what you're doing in it, is you're trying to find this Wave Echo Cave. So Gundren Rockseeker and a human warrior named Sildar Hallwinter, they both go ahead, and your group is following after to meet up with them in Phandelver and start trying to find Wave Echo Cave and hopefully reopen it so that you can begin making magic items and bring wealth back to the town again. Unfortunately, when you start to make your way there, you come across Sildar and Gundren's turned over cart, and obviously something has happened to them. So you go and investigate the cart. Goblins ambush you, you fight them, and then you find out where the goblins came from, because some of them flee, or you can follow them or find out where they came from. And you find a cave where you fight some more goblins and a bugbear, and you find Sildar, and he tells you what happened, that they were attacked on the way and Gundren was kidnapped. Sildar was left here and Gundren was taken someplace else. So you take Sildar to Phandelver, and you investigate the town, you find out the history of the town, etc. Things happen, and eventually it becomes a search for Gundren and also for Wave Echo Cave. So that's the beginning of the adventure, and it's a very straightforward adventure, but it does have a pretty good plot hook to it. This man is providing you with employment, and he has vanished, and if you don't find him, you will not get paid. So it's a pretty good monetary hook for people. Plus, if you have players that their characters are just people who want to do good, you want to help the town, especially once you start meeting the people of the town, you want to help them. So it has a pretty good adventure hook to it, in my opinion. Now, the thing is that there's lots of stuff in Lost Mine of Phandelver that isn't directly related to that main plot. And my players, they kind of found that they were very main plot focused, because why wouldn't you be? You feel like there might be a time limit. Gundren could be killed. The Wave Echo Cave could be plundered. The Forge of Spells could be used for evil. There's kind of a built-in time limit for stopping this thing. But Lost Mine of Phandelver has all these side quests as well that you can go on and do. But my players felt like they didn't really have time for that. Needed to find Gundren, and then once they found Gundren and found out that Wave Echo Cave was in danger, they felt that there wasn't really time to do these side quests. And a lot of the point of these side quests is to find out where Wave Echo Cave is. But if you find out where Gundren is, and you can get there before Gundren is killed, Gundren can tell you where Wave Echo Cave is. So why would you not just go after Gundren? And that's what my players did, is they went to where Gundren was taken, they rescue him, they find out about the big bad guy, who is called the Black Spider, and they go to Wave Echo Cave, go through Wave Echo Cave. It's like a big dungeon with many rooms, so you travel through Wave Echo Cave, which takes quite a while, and eventually you get to the end, fight the Black Spider, and save the day. So the only problem is that I had prepared and added all this extra stuff, fleshed out these extra side quests, and my players never went to them. Like, you can go to Wyvern Tor, you can fight orcs, you can go to an abandoned town called Thunder Tree that's full of zombies, and there's a green dragon there, the green dragon that is on the front of the adventure. They never did any of that because once they saved Gundren, they found out where Wave Echo Cave was, and the whole point to do on these side quests is to find more information about where Wave Echo Cave is, and where Gundren is. Because you gotta go to Thunder Tree to meet a druid, and the druid has information for you. A banshee that you can go to and talk to, and she can give you information. There's a red wizard of Fae in this place called Old Owl Well, and he has information for you. It's like, and they've got these quests from people to do these things, but the problem is, there's so many other ways to find out where Gundren and the Wave Echo Cave is that they just focused on doing that. So therefore, none of these extra side quests came into the main story, which is fine. But I find that providing all those side quests is really cool. It fleshes out the world, but depending on your group, you may flesh out those side quests, which is what I did. I added a bunch of stuff to these side quests to make them a little bit more my style, a little bit more interesting for me. Not saying that the original module isn't interesting, but I made the characters of the town a little bit more connected to these side quests. My players never did them because in their mind, they had to save Gundren, they had to get to Wave Echo Cave, and then after they did the Wave Echo Cave thing in their characters' minds, then we can help the villagers with these other things that aren't really related. Like, a couple of players bring up, like, we can go deal with the orcs, we can go deal with that red wizard, we can go deal with this, but that's later. This kind of thing, the Wave Echo Cave thing, is important and on a time limit in their minds as players and as characters. So we have to do this right now. The only thing that they did deal with first, this group called the Red Brands, because they were a direct threat to the town. So they dealt with the Red Brands first, but then after that it was full Gundren, full Wave Echo Cave. We don't have time for anything else, because if we don't save Gundren, he might die. That's the only thing I can say that is a little bit of a thing with Lost Mine of Phandelver, is there's a lot of extra stuff which is interesting, especially Thunder Tree. My players never went there because they had no reason to for the main plot. Other things I changed was I fleshed out Phandalin a little bit. A lot of the NPCs in Phandalin don't have art, so I found art for all the characters. I drew some art myself. If not official artwork, you can find like artwork of Phandalin, you can find artwork of Craigmount Castle, which is a place that comes up. You might be able to find artwork of Thunder Tree. If it's not official, there's fan art that's out there that you can, and I have like backgrounds, again, so people can visualize where they are. I changed some of the encounters a little bit. Again, big spoiler, the black spider at the end is a drow, and he has three giant spiders that he fights with. Round 2 of the fight, where after you dealt with the spiders and dealt with Black Spider in his drow form, that he would actually throw himself into the Forge of Spells and become a Drider, and you fought him as a Drider. So it made the fight a little bit more of a challenge, a little bit scarier. So that was a big change that I did to the end. So I had that the Forge of Spells got destroyed, because I found the Black Spider fight a little bit anticlimactic, personally. I fleshed out, there were some doppelgangers in it, I fleshed out their relationship with the Black Spider and their relationship with each other. So I did add a bunch of stuff to the main plot that did come up, but unfortunately I added a lot of stuff to these side quests. That's the upside and the downside. I really enjoyed running Lost Mine of Phandelver. I thought it was a really interesting module. It just almost has too many stuff going on, and that's like something that's not a bad thing. I'd rather have too much stuff going on and not get to all of it than not have enough stuff going on that I have to add to it to make it more interesting. I did make it more interesting, but that's because that's what I do. I never like leaving modules alone. I always like messing with them. Lost Mine of Phandelver, I do like it. I know a lot of people think it's a little flat. That's why I did add a little bit to it. But on its basics as a module, especially for the first one they put out for 5th edition, I think it's pretty good. I did enjoy running it. I just wish that there was more reason to go on the side quests than just find out where Wave Echo Cave is, find out where Gundren is. Because literally any choice you take, you find out where Gundren is, and then shortly after you find out where Wave Echo Cave is. So there's no reason to do all those side quests. The module is pretty helpful, telling you what to do as a first-time DM, giving you lots of pointers, giving you really good descriptions for... It runs into the whole older D&D problem where goblins and orcs and bugbears are inherently evil, and drow are inherently evil, which that depends on you as a player. I don't really like it. I did like to give the goblins a little bit more of something going on, but that's just a personal preference. I like to add a little bit more to my villain characters so that they're not just like, this person is a such and such and therefore they're evil, which D&D does have a thing with, so they have changed that recently, but when this module came out, that was still a very prevalent thought pattern. Anyway, I recommend Lost Mine of Phandelver. I do suggest maybe fleshing it out a bit more, making the characters a little bit more alive, the NPCs a little bit more alive, but as a module, I do think it still holds up for a first-time DM to help them out. I have heard that some of the fights might be a little bit difficult for first-time players who are just learning their characters. My players didn't have an issue with it, but that's because they've been playing D&D for a long time. So some of the early fights, especially when they're level 1, you might want to adjust a little bit, or just, especially it's like you fight the goblin ambush and then you go right into this cave where there's a whole bunch of goblins and also a quite powerful bugbear and a warg. And if they go into that unprepared, they can die. So keep that in mind. But as a DM, I do recommend running Lost Mine of Phandelver with some adjustments. So anyway, that was my experience with Lost Mine of Phandelver. Let me know if you've ever run it, if you enjoyed running it. And modules are always a good option if you don't want to be a DM that starts with homebrew, because homebrew can be very intimidating and a lot of work. So sometimes taking a module and adding your own spin to it is the easiest way to do D&D. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I hope you're having a great day. If you're not having a great day, I hope your bad day is over with soon. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye!